Welcome back. This isn't a video to teach you how to pick up girls. This is a video to help you stop doing things that make you less valuable, especially if you're an experienced man dealing with the innocence, sparkle, and sometimes cunningness of a young woman. You don't have to be a younger or cooler version of yourself to be loved. You just have to stop being a weaker version of yourself. Young women aren't looking for a best friend. They're looking for a man who's stable enough not to get pulled into their games. And if you're still thinking, say the right thing and she'll love you, well, you've probably lost your charm before she even says the words. So today we're going to untie some illusions, shatter some fragile egos, and rebuild a version of manhood that doesn't need to be trendy to be attractive. Number 1. Stop trying to be her age. That's not why she's attracted to you. You walk into the room wearing sneakers that don't suit you and a hoodie that tries a little too hard. You drop a few Gen Z slang words into the conversation, hoping she'll see you as in the know. She mentions a TikTok trend and you pretend you're totally familiar. You even rehearse a joke about an influencer you've only Googled minutes before. You think you're bridging a gap. What you're really doing is erasing yourself. There's something tragic about a man who abandons his age to fit into someone else's. He stops being the oak tree and starts trying to be the sapling. But here's what women, especially younger women, won't tell you directly. They're not drawn to you because you remind them of their friends. They're drawn to you because you don't. What creates tension? What builds attraction? What ignites polarity between a man and a woman is not sameness. It's contrast. The steady weight of masculine presence against the playful dance of feminine energy. You lose that when you mimic her world instead of anchoring her in yours. Psychologically, this is rooted in the idea of masculine-feminine polarity. A younger woman subconsciously seeks stability, direction, maturity. When you try to match her slang, her trends, her chaotic social feed, you flatten that polarity. You stop being the compass and start being just another opinion in her algorithm. And she can feel it. Women are intuitive, especially when it comes to detecting what's real. When you change your speech, your dress, your interests, just to appear relevant, what she hears is one message: I'm not enough as I am. And that insecurity is far louder than any meme reference you can make. The research backs this up. According to evolutionary psychologist David Buss, women across cultures show consistent preference for older men who signal maturity and emotional stability, not because of sugar daddy fantasies, but because those traits indicate long-term value, groundedness, confidence, a man who knows who he is and doesn't flinch when the world shifts around him. That's the man she wants to lean into, not the one trying to impress her with filters and flexes, but the one who speaks slowly when she's rushing, who listens when she's venting, who doesn't pretend to understand every pop reference but says, I don't follow that stuff, but I'd love to know what it means to you. Now, that line right there is magic, because it does two things at once. First, it affirms your grounded identity. You're not bending to fit in. Second, it opens emotional space. You invite her to express herself in your presence. And when a woman feels emotionally expressed in your presence without judgment, you become unforgettable. The same goes for when she brings up a trend or a viral topic. Don't force a comment. Try this instead. I'm drawn to things that last like a meaningful conversation or a quiet afternoon. That's not outdated, that's timeless. And timelessness is attractive because it resists trend and embodies value. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, Be content to be thought foolish by those who don't know you, if you live according to nature. Your strength lies not in how much you adapt to her culture, but in how calmly you invite her into yours. Don't chase her youth. Offer your depth. Don't mimic her voice. Let yours be the silence that steadies hers. The men who stand out don't try to look younger. They lean deeper into who they've become. The weathered edges, the steady tone, the lived experience, that's your edge. That's what pulls her in. She doesn't need you to dance. She needs you to walk with purpose. She doesn't need you to vibe. She needs you to be still. And here's the punchline. When you stop performing and start leading, when you stop pretending and start standing tall, you give her what very few men can offer, a glimpse of what it feels like to be led, not by force but by presence. And presence never goes out of style. Number 2, stop being her emotional dumping ground. You're not her therapist. It always starts the same way. A text at midnight. Can I talk to you? She's upset again. Something her ex did. Something her mom said. Something she can't quite name, but it feels heavy, and she needs someone to unload it on. And like clockwork, you pick up the call. You sit there listening, comforting, nodding. You give her the space to cry, the words to feel better, the validation to keep going. And somewhere in your mind, you tell yourself this means something. That being the one she turns to must be special, that you're getting closer. But you're not. You're becoming the emotional janitor of her life, the guy who cleans up the mess without ever being invited into the room. And the worst part is you volunteered. You thought listening was intimacy. You mistook emotional labor for romantic connection. You assumed that if you were there for her in her lowest moments, she'd reward you with her highest affection. But psychology doesn't work that way. According to attachment theory, when a woman uses you as an emotional outlet without offering mutual vulnerability, you're not her partner, you're her safety net. You've become a container, not a connection. This phenomenon even has a name: emotional outsourcing. It happens when one person dumps their emotional baggage onto another, not out of love, but out of convenience. And here's the kicker: women are often unaware they're doing it because you made it easy. You responded every time. You gave more than you were asked for. You blurred the line between emotional support and emotional submission. And slowly, your masculine energy, your mystery, your leadership, your sense of self gets buried under her stories. You stop being a man she's drawn to and start being the one she leans on. And no one fantasizes about their therapist. You think being endlessly available makes you valuable. It doesn't. It makes you replaceable. The real shift comes when you stop trying to solve her problems and start holding your center. When she cries about her ex, you don't jump into the role of savior. You listen calmly and say, "That sounds tough. I trust you'll find your way through." You're supportive, but not absorbent. You stay grounded. You stay composed. You trust her strength instead of inserting your own. And when the venting becomes a habit, when every call starts to sound like déjà vu, you draw a boundary. Not from cruelty, but from clarity. I'm here when you're ready to move forward, but I don't think it's helping either of us to keep repeating the same pain. That one sentence protects your peace and reestablishes polarity. Epictetus once said, "You only control what is within your power, not the emotions of others." She's allowed to feel chaos. You're allowed to not be consumed by it. In fact, your ability to hold space without losing yourself is exactly what sets you apart. It's what makes you masculine in a way that isn't performative but rooted. A man who listens without rescuing, who cares without collapsing, who offers presence, not permission. Because here's what women truly desire: not a sponge for their emotions, but a structure that doesn't shake. A man who sees them fully, but refuses to be swallowed by their storms. That's not detachment, that's grounded love. So if you find yourself always being the emotional fix, stop. Look at what you're actually building. Are you creating space for connection or just enabling a pattern that leaves you empty and invisible? You don't have to be her therapist. You don't have to be her midnight savior. You don't have to be the one who always picks up. You just have to be the one who knows where his emotional boundary is and has the strength to protect it. That's the kind of man she won't just talk to. That's the kind of man she'll chase. Number 3, stop chasing her approval. You're not here to be chosen. You send a message. She reads it. Then silence. 1 hour passes. Then 3. Then 5. Your mind starts spinning. Maybe she's busy. Maybe she's not into you. Maybe you should send a meme to lighten the mood. Or double text just to keep the energy going, just to stay relevant. But what you don't realize is that every small move you make in those moments, every second guess, every adjustment, every wait for her reply pause isn't showing interest. It's leaking self-worth. Chasing a woman's approval doesn't make you more desirable. It makes you invisible. You stop being a presence and start being a performer. And women, especially younger women, don't fall for performers. They test them, because at the core of her nature, whether she's aware of it or not, she's observing how deeply you believe in your own value. She'll pull away, get cold, go quiet, not to be cruel, but to see if you'll lose yourself, if you'll bend, if your world slows down the moment she does. And when you do, when you shift your opinions to match hers, when you praise her just to keep her interested, when you wait around hoping she'll give you the validation you're craving, she feels it, not in words, but in her body. She senses that you're no longer leading, you're reacting, and attraction doesn't grow in reaction, it grows in stillness. Evolutionary psychology has been clear about this for decades. Women aren't drawn to neediness. They're drawn to the emotional independence of a man who doesn't ask for her stamp of approval to feel good about himself. Dion and Dion's 1988 study supports this. Emotional autonomy is not just attractive, it's magnetic. But this isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to knock off center. When she replies hours later, you don't need to respond instantly. You're living, you're moving, you're building. She's welcome to join that world, but you're not rearranging it to get a response. You're not trying to earn attention. You already have your own. If she seems distant, don't try to reheat a cold connection. Let it be. Say, you seem busy when you're ready to talk. I'm here. That's not passive, that's powerful. Because you're not attaching your identity to her engagement. You're giving her space without losing your ground. And that's the shift. Women feel more attracted to a man who respects his own emotional boundaries than one who constantly reaches for hers. Marcus Aurelius nailed it. We love ourselves more than other people, yet we care more about their opinions than our own. The irony is brutal. You've lived a whole life. You've built principles, earned scars, overcome failures, and now you're letting her slow text define your worth? Don't. Let your voice be steady. Let your time be valuable. Let your attention be earned. Not because you're playing a role, but because you respect yourself too much to be anything else. Approval from her is nice, but it's not necessary. When you no longer need to be chosen, you become the one who chooses. And that's where real power begins. Number 4. Stop trying to impress her, lead her instead. You think you're setting the stage, a fancy dinner, a story about your latest business trip, a few subtle nods to the car you drive or the people you know. You want her to see your value, to realize you're a man of substance. You want her to be impressed, but she's not, at least not in the way you think, in the way. She's nodding, she's smiling, she's saying all the right things. But inside, something's not landing. You've turned the date into a presentation and she can feel it. You're performing. You've handed her the clipboard and now she's the one grading you. The moment you try to impress a woman, especially a younger one, you flip the polarity. Instead of being the grounded presence that she can lean into, you become the entertainer, scrambling to earn her attention. And that's not attractive. Not to someone who's craving stability. Women don't fall in love with men who try to prove something. They fall in love with men who don't need to. The quiet confidence, the calm presence, the steady eye contact. That's what she remembers. That's what makes her feel something, because real attraction isn't built through performance, it's built through presence. Psychology makes this clear. According to Buss and Shackelford's research in 1997, women consistently rank emotional stability and internal confidence as more attractive than status symbols or wealth displays. The appeal of an older man isn't his ability to pay for everything. It's his ability to remain centered, to lead without forcing, to move without seeking applause. So instead of telling her what you've accomplished, ask her something that brings her out of autopilot. What makes you feel most alive these days? Then be quiet. Don't nod to agree. Don't interrupt to relate. Just listen. And if she asks about you, offer something real but brief. I'm building something meaningful right now. It keeps me grounded. Then turn it back to her. That's not withholding, that's direction. And direction is rare. You don't have to show her you're valuable. You just have to stop chasing approval. When you're calm, decisive, and fully rooted in your own life, she'll sense it. She'll relax into it. That's when she starts to feel safe enough to let her guard down. Not when you're listing your resume between appetizers. The truth is, when you lead with presence instead of presentation, you change the dynamic. You stop being the product and start being the guide. You're no longer asking her to choose you. You're inviting her to follow your pace. As Epictetus taught, be content to be thought foolish if you are true to your principles. You don't need to impress her with your lifestyle. Impress her with your integrity, with your emotional steadiness, with your unwillingness to become someone you're not just to gain temporary attention. Let your energy speak louder than your stories. Let your calm be more compelling than your wallet. Let your questions reveal more about your character than your achievements ever could. Because in the end, she won't remember the price of the wine or the place you took her. She'll remember how she felt sitting across from you. Was she being impressed or was she being led? Only one of those will make her want to see you again. Number 5. Stop dreaming too soon. She's not your future, she's just a woman you're still learning. You've had 3 dates, maybe 4. She laughs at your jokes, texts you good morning sometimes, and looks stunning in every outfit. And somehow your brain has already gone full throttle into a romantic screenplay. You're imagining walking through airports together, her head on your shoulder at family dinners, maybe even a future where she's the mother of your children. You tell yourself it's not serious, it's just a vision. But the truth is, you've already started shaping your reality around a person you barely know. And that's exactly where things start to break. This isn't love, it's idealization. You're falling for who you want her to be, not who she actually is. And in doing so, you begin to ignore all the small signs that don't fit your fantasy. The inconsistent replies, the vague plans, the moments when she's emotionally distant or casually dismissive. You excuse them all. You say she's busy. You say she's guarded. You say she just needs time. But what you're really doing is negotiating with reality. According to the psychological research by Murray et al., 1996, idealization in early romantic stages often leads to emotional dependency and unrealistic expectations. You begin to mold your schedule around her. You start compromising your friendships and responsibilities to accommodate a future that hasn't even been mutually discussed. And when that future starts to crack, you don't adjust your expectations, you double down on them. You try harder, you invest more, you chase what never actually existed. This kind of projection isn't just unhealthy, it's unattractive. Because while you're busy writing a love story in your head, she's still deciding whether she even wants a second act. And the more you lean in with unearned devotion, the more she feels the weight of something she hasn't agreed to carry. It doesn't feel romantic to her. It feels suffocating. Women, especially those still navigating their identity, aren't looking for someone to fast forward the script. They're looking for someone who sees them clearly in the present. someone who can sit in uncertainty, observe with calm, and resist the urge to slap labels on something that's barely begun. So instead of asking yourself whether she's the one, ask yourself what she's actually showing you. Not what she says, but what she does. Does she follow through? Is she emotionally available? Is there consistency behind the charm? If she cancels twice in a row without rescheduling, that's not a sign to wait longer. It's a sign to reassess, not because you're punishing her, but because you're respecting your own clarity. As Epictetus taught, when you begin an action, consider first what the nature of it is. Dating is not a destination, it's a discovery process. It's not a contract, it's a conversation. It's where you gather data not just on her, but on yourself, on how you react, on where you lose yourself, on how quickly you abandon your life in favor of a fantasy. Let her reveal herself, or you invest your peace. Let the moment breathe before you build castles in the sky. Keep your imagination in check and your eyes on reality. Because the man who stays present, the one who doesn't flinch under uncertainty, who doesn't chase a future to avoid discomfort, is the one who earns both her respect and her curiosity. And if the story is meant to unfold, it will, but it should be written with two hands, not just yours. Number 6, stop being her emotional backup. You're not her plan B. She texts you out of the blue. Rough day, can we talk? You answer, of course. You listen. You support. You reassure her that she deserves better, that any guy would be lucky to have her. And then, like a ghost returning to its pattern, she disappears again right around Friday night when the real plans start happening. But you don't question it. You tell yourself you're helping, that she just needs time, that maybe if you're consistent enough, patient enough, kind enough, she'll eventually see you as something more. The truth? You're not building a connection. You're filling a vacancy. You're not her lover, her partner, or her priority. You're the emotional pit stop she turns to when life gets heavy, when the other guy ghosts her, when her plans fall through, when the void gets too loud. And once she's refueled, once she's had her dose of validation and comfort, she drives off again without even glancing back to see how long you've been standing there waiting. Psychologically, this isn't just random behavior. It's rooted in the scarcity principle, as defined by Cialdini in 2001. The less available something is, the more valuable it becomes. And here you are always available, always responsive, always ready to pick up the pieces of someone else's mess. So while you think you're proving your worth by showing up, what she's feeling is this: you're too easy to get, too safe, too replaceable. And make no mistake, this isn't about being cold or heartless. This is about boundaries, about knowing when your energy is being drained instead of received. Because the moment you accept the role of emotional safety net without romantic reciprocity, you're not being kind. You're being used. Women, especially younger ones, still navigating heartbreak, identity, and emotional volatility, can unknowingly turn older men into emotional placeholders. You become the substitute teacher for the class she actually wanted. And the longer you play that role, the harder it becomes for her to ever see you differently. Respect doesn't grow from convenience. It grows from contrast. From you having the courage to say, "I care about you, but I'm not here to be a temporary fix." When she vents again about the same guy who keeps hurting her, try saying, "I hope you find peace with this, but I don't think I'm the person you should keep turning to." Then walk away. No drama, no guilt, just a clean, self-respecting boundary. And when she ignores your attempts to meet or goes silent after you suggest plans, you don't double text, you don't follow up, you let it be. Until she steps up with clear effort and intention, your silence is more powerful than any explanation. Seneca once said, "Associate with those who make you better. Avoid those who make you smaller." Being a man doesn't mean always being available. It means knowing your value so well that you refuse to be used as a placeholder. If your presence doesn't invite appreciation, your absence must create clarity. So here's your reminder. You're not here to be her therapist, her safety net, or her in-between guy while she figures herself out. You're here to lead, to choose, to build something mutual. And if she's not ready to meet you there, let her go. Not because you're bitter, but because you're better than being plan B. Number 7, don't abandon your mission for her. She was attracted to it in the first place. It starts small. You skip a workout to have breakfast with her. You cancel a meeting because she had a rough night. You push your side project aside for just a few more hours together. And before you realize it, the structure you spent years building your goals, your habits, your direction begins to blur into something softer, more convenient, more accommodating. You're not leading your life anymore, you're editing it for her approval. The irony is brutal. The very thing that attracted her to you, your ambition, your independence, your discipline, is now what you're slowly sacrificing to keep her close. You think making room for her shows commitment, but in her eyes it signals something else entirely. That the man she admired for his focus and direction now needs her more than his own purpose. That's not devotion, that's dependence. And dependence kills attraction. Women, especially younger ones drawn to older men, aren't looking for someone to orbit around them. They're drawn to gravity, to presence, to direction. A man who wakes up with a mission isn't just appealing, he's magnetic. According to Buss and Shackelford's 1997 research on attraction, ambition, and self-direction are consistently ranked as top traits women desire in a long-term partner. Not status, not wealth, purpose. When you surrender that purpose to fit into her rhythms, you become emotionally reactive. You're no longer the calm in the storm, you're another wave, another mood, another man trying to win her time by giving up what made him valuable in the first place. This doesn't mean you shut her out. It means you stay rooted. When she wants to change plans, don't drop everything to accommodate. Say, I've got work that matters to me. Let's meet after Saturday at 7. When she wants you to sleep in instead of working your morning routine, smile and say, I'll see you after I get through what I need to do. This isn't cold, it's clear, and clarity is what makes her feel safe even when she resists it. The moment she realizes she can't shake your mission, she relaxes into it. Because now she sees something rare, a man who leads not to control her, but because he refuses to betray himself. That kind of man doesn't need to convince anyone of his worth. He simply lives it. Marcus Aurelius said it best. A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. And that's your compass. Your mission isn't optional. It's not something you pause for a relationship. It is the relationship. The right woman won't want to pull you off course, she'll want to walk beside you as you pursue it. So the next time you're tempted to choose her comfort over your calling, ask yourself this: who is she really falling for, the man who folds or the one who holds? Don't abandon your mission. Invite her into it. And if she can't meet you there, keep walking. Your path was never meant to be rerouted for temporary affection. It was meant to be lived with or without applause. Number 8. She wants a rock, not a puppet. She tells you your clothes are boring, that you should dress younger, that you should talk more, open up, loosen up, be more spontaneous. So you do. You change your wardrobe, you fake extroversion, you stretch yourself thin, trying to match what you think she wants. And just when you believe you're getting closer, something shifts. She grows distant, less engaged. The spark dims, and you're left wondering what went wrong when all you did was try to please her. But here's the truth. You didn't lose her because you didn't try hard enough. You lost her because you tried too hard. In her eyes, you stopped being the man she was initially drawn to and became a reflection of her moods. a puppet molded by approval. And what she really wanted, what she was testing for, was the opposite of that. She wanted a rock. Women test not because they're cruel, but because they're wired to seek security. Unconsciously, they'll push, challenge, even criticize to see if you bend. Not to break you, but to feel where your edges are. If those edges keep shifting, if you keep moving your center to avoid conflict, she won't feel safe. She'll feel like she's leading, like she's in charge of your identity, and no woman wants to be romantically responsible for the man she's dating. According to evolutionary psychology, especially the work of David Buss in 1989, emotional stability is a key indicator of masculine maturity and long-term value. A man who stays grounded, unshaken by external pressure, is naturally more attractive. Not because he's arrogant, but because he's consistent. In a world full of emotional noise, he becomes the calm. And that calm is exactly what she's trying to locate when she says, "You're too quiet," or "You should be more like him." She's not giving you instructions. She's testing your foundation. The worst move you can make in those moments is to panic and comply. It tells her, "I don't trust myself enough to stand my ground." And if you don't trust yourself, why should she? Next time she says you should dress younger, smile and say, "I get why you'd think that, but I actually like how I carry myself. I'm not chasing trends." If she turns cold and distant, don't chase. Don't flood her inbox. Say, "You seem like you need space." Reach out when you're ready, then go back to your routine. Hit the gym. Work your plan. Stay unbothered. That's the energy she respects. That's the polarity she craves. Because in that moment, you're no longer reacting to her emotions, you're anchoring them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Peace comes when you stop caring what others say, think, or do." You're not here to win her validation. You're here to stand firm in your values. That's what makes you attractive. Not flexibility, but clarity. And here's the twist. The more you hold your ground, the more she relaxes into her feminine. She lets go of the tests. She starts leaning into you, not because you passed every trial, but because you refuse to lose yourself in the process. Be the rock. Let her waves crash. Let the storm pass. But never, ever hand over your identity just to keep her smiling. Because the moment you do, she won't smile. She'll walk away, searching for the man who never needed her approval to be who he already was. Number 9. Don't buy her time, earn her attention. You plan the dinner. The lighting's perfect, the restaurant's upscale, the bill will hurt, but you tell yourself she's worth it. You send the follow-up texts, memes, questions, compliments. You stay in her inbox like it's your second home, just to make sure she remembers you exist. She shows up. She smiles. She thanks you. But something's off. You can feel it. She's not there because she's drawn to you. She's there because it's easy, because the wine is nice, because the effort is flattering, because you're offering a kind of comfort but not the kind that ignites desire. You didn't create attraction, you created convenience. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't fall for men who try to buy attention. They fall for men who own their presence. And every time you overinvest financially, emotionally, or energetically, you're telling her, "I don't believe I'm enough on my own, so here's something shiny to make up for it." But attraction doesn't work like that. Because women, especially women who are used to male attention, have seen this game before. They've had dinners, they've gotten gifts, they've watched men overextend, hoping effort would create chemistry, and it never does. According to psychological research on external validation, when your value feels like it's attached to what you give rather than who you are, it loses impact. You become a performer, not a presence. And performance might be appreciated, but it's not respected, and it's definitely not craved. Women don't want a sponsor, they want a source. What actually pulls her in is your restraint. your ability to stay composed when she pulls away, your refusal to chase validation with flowers or fancy plans, your decision to live with clarity instead of bending for her convenience. So instead of booking the next 5-star restaurant, invite her to something honest, a quiet cafe, a walk, a conversation that matters. Look her in the eyes and ask something real. What makes you feel alive lately? Then listen not to impress, but to understand. That single moment of presence will leave a bigger mark than 100 dinners ever could. And if she doesn't respond with the same intention, if her replies get cold or distant, don't increase your output. Don't send another check-in message. Don't propose a new plan just to stay on her radar. Let her feel the absence of your energy. Let her miss the presence she took for granted. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And being a good man doesn't mean paying your way into her life. It means holding your value so clearly that she wants to step into your world without needing to be lured in. Your attention has weight when you give it selectively. Your time becomes rare when you stop offering it to anyone who smiles. Your energy becomes desirable when you stop pouring it into proving yourself. So don't buy her time. Don't sell your dignity to keep her attention. Just be so rooted in who you are that the right woman can't help but be drawn in, not because of what you gave, but because of what you didn't have to. Number 10. Make her earn the depth of you. She leans in across the table. Her eyes soften. She asks a deep question. Maybe about your childhood, your divorce, your failures, and something in you lights up the part that's been waiting for someone to really ask. You open the gates. You tell the story, all of it, the pain, the lessons, the nights you broke apart just to rebuild again. You think you're being real, vulnerable, human. But what you don't see is that you just gave her the treasure map without asking if she even wanted to stay on the journey. Because depth isn't something you offer to anyone who asks the right question. It's something that must be earned through consistency, presence, maturity, and time. You don't pour your life's meaning into someone's hands just because they were curious for a moment. That's not intimacy. That's emotional exposure, and it can backfire fast. You see, women aren't necessarily turned off by your depth. They're overwhelmed when it's handed to them like a fire hose on the first date. It removes all the mystery. It fast-forwards emotional pacing. And in worst-case scenarios, it turns you from a grounded man into a self-help monologue in human form. According to psychological research by Race and Shaver, 1988, intimacy builds gradually through mutual disclosure and emotional responsiveness. Translation: it takes time, reflection, and reciprocation to make deep sharing stick. When you drop your whole life story on her too soon, you're skipping the most crucial part of attraction, the earned trust. Women don't just want access to your heart. They want to feel they've deserved that access, that you saw something in them worth revealing yourself for, that you watched their actions, their values, their patterns, and chose to open, not just reacted to a well-worded question. So what does that look like in practice? It means when she asks, "What happened in your last relationship?" You don't spill the entire divorce drama. You say, "I'll share that when we've built a little more trust. For now, I'd rather know how you handle conflict when it shows up." You shift the spotlight back not to deflect, but to observe. Because how she responds to stress, silence, and vulnerability will tell you whether she's worth the keys to your inner world. And when you do decide to share, you don't unload. You reveal bit by bit. You allow the emotional tension to build. You let her lean in. You create space for her to match your depth, not just consume it. That's when connection becomes real. Seneca once said, "Life is long enough if you know how to use it well." And your emotional depth, your reflections, your pain, your growth is part of that life. It's valuable, scarce, not to be poured into anyone who looks interested, but to be given piece by piece to someone who shows up with consistency and care. So don't throw your story out like a performance. Don't make your wounds your resume. Let your depth live beneath the surface, quiet, steady, real. Let her work for it. Let her prove she's earned the right to see the man behind the mask, not just the one performing wisdom on cue. Because when she earns your depth, she won't take it lightly. She'll treasure it. And she'll treasure you. You are not the guy she can play with when her mood changes. You are the man who has been through enough to understand. Keeping your value is not about being loved. It's about not losing yourself to get it. If you have to trade your identity, stability, and mission to be accepted, then you are not loved, you are being used. And here is the truth that few dare to say. Young women do not need you to understand them. They need you to feel themselves more deeply through your calmness, principles, and steadfastness. So if you want to maintain your attraction, remember one simple thing. Don't try to be as young as her. Be true to your age, and make her yearn to be as mature as you are. If you find this video scratches the right spots that no man dares to scratch, then subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and comment below this quote: "I don't need approval, I just need to be myself." See you in the next parts of Stoic Love, where we break illusions and rebuild manhood with cold reason and warm heart.